something, that's who we are. That's who we are here, gathered together. And now as we prepare for our amazing, beautiful, talented, courageous speaker, just take a few breaths. Open your mind. This is the time to listen, to learn, to grow. This is that part where just that bit of magical inspiration can enter our lives. And just feel into this moment. Maybe feel your heart beating and say, you know what, today I'm going to listen from my heart, not my head. And just allow yourself to be ready to receive. I have the joy of introducing our motivational speaker today, Barbara With. Barbara is an international peace activist, award-winning author and publisher, psychic channel, performer, facilitator, speaker, and are actually a lot of other things. Barbara, you've done so much in this lifetime. Probably more to do yet still, but Barbara is the co-founder of Conflict Revolution, world peace, one person at a time, starting with the self to resolve conflicts of the psyche. Wow, that's such a great topic, isn't it? And so needed in this world, and so needed in my individual life. I know that. That's where it starts, right, Barbara?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right on. And it's all based on her work channeling the angels and Albert Einstein. That sounds really neat. That sounds really interesting. And the topic today is choosing kindness. Couldn't be better. We're so grateful to have you here today. I'm so excited. With positive expectancy, please welcome Barbara
Thank you,
With.
Don.
Take it away.
Thank you so much. We will command that only the most divine light shine down upon us at this time, and the greatest good be present here. Well, welcome this morning, and thank you for welcoming me here to this wonderful community I've been a part of for a long time, off and on. And I left home a couple of weeks ago for year 2 of my World Peace Tour. And I've been on the road looking for the participation of the willing to take part in a worldwide nonviolent action to end the age of war, starting with ourselves. And you might wonder what happened in year 1 of your World Peace Tour. And a year ago, I left home, and I was telling Kim it was sort of like Jesus. He didn't have a roadmap. Now, he had 12 apostles, okay, but he just followed where God led him, and that's kind of what I did, and came here as one of the starting engagements, and then I went over 23,000 miles, 7 countries, 12 states, and countless conversations about this topic. And as Don said, this is such a needed conversation, and everywhere I went, whether I was channeling or I was in the fish and chip shop, dogs sat my way across the UK, having these conversations and gathering with people in the interest of peace. And it's time now. And what made me decide to leave my life and go on this World Peace Tour was the world today. I've been doing this work for over 30 years, and back then world peace was a lovely idea, and now it's a necessary manifestation. And as it gets seemingly worse and worse and worse, the answers more and more point to us. So I decided today that this term of this topic of choosing kindness, you can't get any more succinct with the directive. Those 2 words, choosing, so you're taking an action, and then kindness. I would have brought the dictionary with me, but that was a little much. But I did take a picture of the definition of kindness so we can hear it. It's the act, of course, of being kind, of a friendly nature, generous, hospitable, warm-hearted, good, charitable, helpful, showing sympathy or understanding, humane, tolerant, and generous. So choosing all those things can be one of the hardest things to do in life, especially when we're triggered. So I wanted to bring this incredible gift that I have been blessed with, and thank you, God, for giving me this gift of being able to bring these messages in this way. But I wanted to kind of preempt the session by just explaining a little bit to how we got here, to this conflict revolution, world peace one person at a time, starting with you. And I had been channeling, since 1987. And so in 1993, I wanted to do a group of people, and none of my regular clients had any interest, which just shocked me. I thought, who wouldn't want to do a group and hear what these voices had to say? And my mentor, who only lived a couple blocks from here, and I went to see her in 1970, so that's how long this has been going on. And so one day, Teresa McMillan showed up at my door for a reading, and she sent all her friends, and then she sent her best friend, Kimberly Phelps, and nothing was ever the same after that. We started doing groups in 1993. We called ourselves the Psychic Sorority, and when they asked, Kim and Teresa asked in a group, well, who are you? Because I had been raised to think I was an antenna, just picking up information and talking back to your human mind. And they said, you can call us angels. Angels, really, angels. I was very skeptical. But the girls and I got together and we talked about it, and we decided that this information was so divine, and it was so empowering and regenerative, and it was changing our lives for the better, that we didn't really care if it was the Easter Bunny. And what these angels said to us was that they had this theoretical process that humans could engage in, and if they did it and resolved first their conflicts here, the byproduct would be world peace. They really stressed the byproduct. You don't go here. We're not talking about going into the battlefield. We're talking about doing it here first, and the byproduct will be world peace. And we need some humans to test it on real conflicts. And we were so excited. Yes, send us, we'll do it until we had our first fight. And I have to tell you, there's something indescribably profound about coming across two sort of random strangers, do these channeling sessions, being told by these angels that you're going to have a chance to test this process on your conflicts, and then be seated at a table where the conflict is actually playing out. There's kind of a real profound, it's almost like a split person where you're in the conflict. Well, if you would only, I need to know, and this and that. And then there's another part of you going, well, wait a minute. We just channeled this session and transcribed it on conflict resolution. So I was like the coach, let's get the transcript. If you're involved in a conflict, your part of it is within you. Now, today, you're nodding your head. Of course, that makes perfect sense. In 1993, to us codependent, rageaholic, all those dysfunctional things that we were, that was pretty revolutionary, especially when we're in the middle of a conflict. It took a little more cycling before we all got it. Like the Satori moment just rushed through us of, oh my God. And I was able to come, I think we cried. I think you and I both cried. And we came back to the table and I said, here's what I can do. And Kim came back and she said, and here's what I need to do. And Teresa said, and we all need to listen. And she didn't say these two words, but I'm going to put them in there as if she did, because I'm sure she meant it. Choose kindness. Choose, whatever the conflict you have, choose kindness. And it was from that work. Now that was mind-blowing enough, but what really hooked it for me was that night I went to work. I was singing at the Whitney Hotel. And there was a waitress at the hotel who couldn't stand me. She never once said a kind word to me in 2 years that I worked there. And I don't care. I'm there to sing and make my money. And I went in that night, oh, Barbara, do you like Patti Smith? I've got some cassettes in the car. I could get you. She put $20 in my tip jar. And I'm at the piano, thinking to myself, what is going, and then we call it hanging and dang. Because you're just like, you get this aha moment where you're going, dang, hanging and dang, this is what they're talking about. When you do it in here, it happens out here in ways that you don't manipulate or even intend to do. You just sit back and channel that energy and watch and be amazed as it manifests. And thank God we've had many, many opportunities to put these processes to the test through the research and development, and I think I speak for everyone who has been touched by them, and Einstein's voice and the angel's voice, to say that yes, indeed, your theory works, and we're working on it. And I think, as Don said, we are at a pivotal point in the evolution of human consciousness, and I mean today. And I know it's just the US election, but the whole world is watching. And I'm thinking to myself that in my party of 12, there were a few Kennedys working for world peace from the afterlife. I think they're watching the world. And my prayers have been about choosing kindness first and foremost. To be sure to do this revolution. And it's simple, it's very simple. If you get triggered, if you are involved in a conflict, the root is within you. And if you're willing to go on this thought experiment where you turn inward and think, you know what? Maybe all that's just a reflection of what's happening in here, and if I change it in here, I can watch and be amazed as it changes around me. Now, the angels used to tell us, there's no difference in the process of manifesting green pencils as there is to manifesting a red Ferrari. The only thing that's different is what we think about it and the judgments we put on it, and then, oh, well, I can do pencils, but a Ferrari, that'd be too much. So I'm thinking world peace is the red Ferrari. And inner peace, this is the green pencils. This is what we can do. Will we? Will you be willing? That'll be your choice. That'll be everybody's individual choice. But I just can't say enough about it because it saved my life and it's brought me on to year 2 of my World Peace Tour. And if it's anything like year 1, gosh knows where we're going. But so I'm going to do a little bit of channeling, and Don asked if we wanted to do any Q&A with it, and I'm sure open to it. He'll have a microphone, and I want to sort of just keep track of the time as I get carried away sometimes with the beauty. Okay. All right, so if we can all just for a second, turn your focus inward, take some deep breaths, be conscious of your body. It is November 3rd, 2024. Those of us with bodies in the same room are gathered here at Lake Superior, my own spiritual community. Lake Harriet Spiritual Community. And we've joined together today to reinforce the divine in ourselves. We've come together to make sure that our operating systems are aligned to compassion. And so we will command that only the most divine light shine down upon you at this time, and the greatest good be present here. It is such a joy to be here this morning on November 3rd, 2024. As Barbara said, and all you feel, this is a pivotal time in the evolution of human consciousness. Never before have you been in such a vibration where you can take control of your own operating system in ways that are profoundly changing the physical worlds around you. And whether that be your physical body, taking control for illness or pain, whether it's taking control so that you can bring peace to your family, whether it's taking control so that you can have an intentional influence of working for the good of the whole in situations that might not be manifesting that by all apparent purposes. This is a time where your power is laid at your doorstep. And what you're seeing in the world is that there isn't a separation between anyone as far as who is high vibrating and who is low vibrating. Not at all. You are all one body, and that one body has all vibrations. And the idea is not to cordon off yourself into a particular corner of vibrations. It's to embrace all that you are. And this idea that you're going to do this while you choose kindness is called self-love. And self-love is the key. It is the cornerstone to world peace. And you begin in your own circles, and those circles radiate out. And when your circles radiate out and match and connect with the other circles that are radiating out of people who are committed to compassion, to acting for the good of all, to taking care of self, to visioning that new world, to not take the bait into thinking that they are responsible for your demise. So what we want to open up to today in this circle is for you all here in this community, you who come year after year, even if you're here after many years and you don't recognize a single soul here, your energy is still here. The energy that you brought to this physical place, this beautiful spiritual community 30 years ago, is still here. And you're building on that. And we want you to imagine, as you're all sitting in this circle of light that is your spiritual community, where so many people come to do so many different activities and creations and expressions to get you to self-love. And imagine if you go up out of this powerful dome, shining this light from Minneapolis out into the heavens, and if you travel on that light, like Einstein did, and imagine yourself lifting up over the city and seeing all of the lakes, and seeing your city and your state and going higher and higher, and you're seeing all these other lights shining out from all of these other communities around the world, of every religion, of every spiritual aspect. Any one person who comes together with another, where two or more are gathered, who are intent on doing what's for the good of the whole, starting with self-love, loving neighbors. That power is joining together right now. And what you're seeing in the arena that sometimes reminds you of the old Roman Colosseums, the way things are battling out right now, you must, at the same time that you acknowledge what is now manifesting, you must also rise above and become that person that is not going to create us versus them. This is how we end the age of war. That individuals like yourselves recognize the importance of the work that you do on yourself to the macrocosm, so that even when you're in some of that most difficult work, feeling those horrible feelings that no one would voluntarily feel unless you had some conflict or a physical ailment or what have you, but you're embracing it and you're feeling it and you're breathing it and you're loving yourself. You're choosing to treat yourself kindly and with generosity. You're choosing to listen to your intuition and act on that intuition, because intuition is compassion, and compassion is telling you to choose kindness. Will you? We say your biggest battle will be here in your own mind. This is where World War III is being waged. And every time you can disarm yourself by either not projecting onto somebody else and monitoring, how do you talk to yourself? Step outside yourself into a witness and listen to what language do you talk to yourself in? Does it tell you that you can't? Does it belittle you? Is it ungenerous? Then this is your work, to get that wild horse of that intellect and bring it into beautifully managed flow, aligned to compassion. Always, always coming forward with generosity and understanding, especially when you're feeling the tough feelings. And as you look on the planet and you see all of this light, never underestimate the power of that unification of compassion that's in everyone's hearts right now because of the adversity. Because you can't get there unless you see what's manifest outside yourself that's going to trigger you into this empathy and sympathy and understanding that you're all one. And that you simply must be the change first and foremost. And we'll tell you that when you do, and when you see those manifestations, you will be hooked. And you will begin to manifest miracle that join with all the other small miracles. And before you know it, there's a significant change in the macrocosm. So let go of preconceived ideas, and when in doubt, commit to working for the good of the whole, starting with you, starting with self-love, choosing kindness. Would you like to have conversation or have any questions?
Hello, bonjour, Anine.
Hello.
I usually have questions about community, and everything that you just said right there has come to the conclusion that I have as well. And it's very hard to help people to learn about self-love when sometimes they don't even know the meaning of it, or or what they've learned about love has been the opposite of what it is. And so I'm trying my best to try and help bring that out into our community, but I'm having a rough time with it. There's this thing called lateral violence that I've learned about, and and it's very large in communities of color as well as in the nursing community. And so I think that people have their guards up with fear, and I don't want to point fingers at people who may be showing behaviors that are, not kind to others, but do you have any advice for us who are trying to bring that love, but we tend to get kind of hit with the opposite, and it hurts, and we try to keep going? Thank you so much.
Well, and we would say, first of all, that to understand intrinsically the effect of the depths of your soul, of the things that you are trying to accomplish, you have to compartmentalize in your mind in order to go into the trauma to do this. You have to, because otherwise it overcomes. So you need to take away time and understand that ultimately, it's the same answer. It will be up to them or it won't. And you can do as much as you can. The best thing you can do is be a model for it, and for you to demonstrate how you are not going to let this bring you down, and what you need to do to take care of you is probably the best work that you can do before you think about having to help all of those people, many of whom aren't willing yet. Not that you should stop doing what you're doing, but understanding that until they're willing, you can't sacrifice yourself for them. In fact, it's just the opposite, where you just show them how to take care of themselves by taking care of yourself to the best of your ability. So it's all woven in together.
Hi, I just have a question. I'm not quite sure how to formulate it, but there seems to be an energy behind the energy of separation, right? Like there seems to, people are really, really drawn to that. I'm thinking of like the Trump rallies and things like that. Can you speak to that? Because it seems, because they talk about love too. So I'm confused about that.
Well, we just want to say this about anything that has to do with your perceptions of, and this is for both sides. This is for both sides. Your perceptions of what's going on the other side. You're looking at the other side, you're seeing through your lens, you're seeing through the lens of, at this time, and we have always said that this is the least spiritual culture that's ever been on the planet, and we can say without hesitation that you've been bombarded with propaganda, terrible propaganda, both sides. And that our suggestion is, first of all, to understand that, and we give you a process of revolving the focus back in to what you perceive as outside yourself. Well, maybe that is your spiritual path to look at things within yourself, because you can't change those people on the other side. And going at them like this and judging them and pointing fingers and trying to separate yourself from them as if you are the good person and they're the bad person, you're contributing to the conflict. So going within, and again, this is a time where you are all being challenged to rise up above the normal life that you've lived, to be almost supernatural in your ability to love, just like Jesus. You're being challenged now. And it's not anymore going to work just to read the Bible or talk to each other. You're going to be put in situations in your life that are going to force you to adapt and adopt and demonstrate what you say that you believe. And if you believe in love, and if you believe that all are one, then you must come to a place where you admit that you have had preconceived ideas and judgments, and maybe you don't know what that is. Maybe you wouldn't know until you went to someone who went to a Trump rally and said, come and talk with me. Let's try to understand what's happening here and really be able to listen. But who can do that in this supercharged atmosphere? So start with yourself and be willing to do this thought experiment with us.
I have this dream that we could someday, do the same thing that Iceland and Costa Rica have done, which is totally cancel their armies. They have no air force or anything like that. And I think that, maybe within 300 years we could get there. Now I assume then that at the end of that we would have to keep some kind of defense force, because then there are the other planets also. So I imagine we have to keep something so that we're not attacked by, reptilians or whatever from outside galaxies. But then perhaps the first thing to do is to worry about us and not those galaxies. That's it.
Yes, and you have to understand that in terms of Costa Rica, modeling this kind of real-time, not just visioning and praying and imagining what you want to create, but actually does For this world to do that, you have to go through some kind of major transformation on every single level of culture. You can't just take away the armies. There's all kinds of economic systems that are built into those. So you have this system that's created on all of these things that are detrimental and destructive. So somewhere along the way, you have to bring those down as you bring up the new systems. And how that's done, this is what you're finding out, is how do you go from where you are today to that? And we say the same thing. It's one person at a time, starting with yourself, doing everything that you can to become this alignment to compassion yourself, and then make the commitment to going into whatever situations you're given in your life, that you're creating for yourself anyway, to exert that influence of peace and unification. And it doesn't mean letting yourself get bombed away or destroyed. It means that if you change here, it naturally has to manifest somehow outside yourself. And we think you're seeing this. You're seeing more and more people understanding what the truth is. And the truth is something that resonates. It's not something that a leader comes to tell you and then you follow the leader. It's when someone says something that resonates within you and it inspires you, because that's the truth. We are all one. That's the truth. And more people are getting pushed to the brink of is enough is enough. Yes, they did this and they did that and they did this and they did that. Enough is enough. When are we going to stop having us versus them? Start with yourself in the littlest ways possible, because the microcosm is indeed affecting the macrocosm. Is there more time? Have we run out?
Thank you.
Hi. Maybe you can help me with this a little bit. I was listening to a spiritual podcast the other day, and it was two men. One was the interviewer and one was the guest, and they were discussing this is the time of the divine feminine coming into play. Do you see that as a reality, or is that just one of the strands?
Yes, in fact, the way that we see divine feminine coming into command is that inside you as an individual, as a human, you have what we call 3 human dimensions: emotion, solar plexus, intuition in the heart, and intellect in the mind. And how you're supposed to be operating is that all your emotions are supposed to be flowing up through your breath and into your heart and informing your intuition, which is your voice of compassion, telling you, here, take the next most advantageous step for the good of this whole system, starting with you. Always, that's how the system operates. This is the divine feminine. How it's been operating is then, and it still is in all of you, flows up into the intellect, and the intellect has been given this amazing power of free will. So if the feminine says rest, the masculine says, you know what, I'm not going to rest. I have too much to do, and makes the decision then to go off doing all these things. If intuition, if the divine feminine says forgive, and intellect says, I'm not going to forgive, those people are horrible, then that's the imbalance that's being shifted. So it isn't necessarily about suddenly all the people in the ruling organizations of government or business are all going to be women, because we all know that women can be masculine and men can be guided by their feminine. So it's more about this Christ consciousness coming within everyone to let that divine feminine voice of compassion of God within you run the show.
So the question I have for myself, and hopefully some other people can relate to it, is I feel at times in my life I've been on course, I've been on my spiritual path, I've been connected, And then I've gotten off that path and gotten distracted, and feels like there's so many distractions in the world now, and the companies and powers that be have figured out what our distractions are by our certain logarithms and such, and it's like, how do we stay focused on what we came here for?
Well, first of all, you have to be willing to go into, you might call it a spiritual practice, but it's living in this awareness of everything that you just said. And then in the moments when you're not running afoul of your mind or running amok of all of the distractions, at a time when you're centered, when you're calm, spend some time with you. One of the greatest things you can do, all of you right now, is be in nature. Be touching the tree. Be lying on the actual physical ground. There's something going on with all of the high cortisol stress levels, with the 5G type of stuff, with the stuff that's going in your body. There's all kinds of things that are working on your hippocampus to separate your brains from your left brain from your right brain, and separate your thinking. And when you're afraid and you're dealing in that fear is marrying to thoughts, you're increasing that stress and you're making it worse. So regular meditation that brings you back into alignment with the electromagnetic field of the earth, to allow yourself to get aligned physically, even though your thoughts might still be going like this, because your body will be stronger than your thinking, but you have to get it there. And this is the biggest challenge in being human right now, is you're being bombarded by more than we can even explain to you right now. And you always have to remember that there's a massive amount of effort right now trying to implant voices of culture in your head of division and diminishing and degeneration, and so this is your purpose. This is your purpose, and you're not just representing you today, right now, in this room. You're bringing generations of your family. You're bringing other lives that you're living. You've come here at this time to do this. You weren't just thrown in here accidentally. And you're in the process of rising up to that occasion and going, well, yeah, what do I want to do? What do I really want to do? Do you want to be on these devices? You don't have to be. It's a different kind of world that you will build, but there's a lot of people doing that right now. You don't see them because those with the device controllers want you not to see them, but be one of those people. Create face-to-face connections. Find community like here where you can be with each other. And then really, if we would tell everyone, do some meditation, do sound healing, get in that space as much as you can. And then also, the most important thing about this is when you're triggered by the despair that we know you feel sometimes, the pointlessness, use your breath, the power of breath that you've been given, to move that energy through your body. Do it in love. Do it knowing that this is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be breathing and feeling and releasing, and that wave will pass. And then ask yourself, what do I want to create? And then be willing to rise up to your passion with your own compassion, your own self-love. And that is your purpose in your journey. So we'll bring the channel to a close by saying to you all, thank you from the bottom of our souls. This collective of angelic presence, of the party, of Einstein, of all of your ancestors who have happily come to join the party today, and be a part of this change. Know that we are here with you. We are always here. And you have access right here in your heart, in your emotion, and as you tame the wild horses of your intellect and align them to those thoughts of the greatest good, you will only need to watch and be amazed. Namaste.
Wow. I have two questions. The first is, for people who want to connect with you on this beautiful topic that was just so perfectly well spoken and so in need at this time and so applicable at this time. So thank you for that. How do people connect with you?
BarbaraWith.com. Also, I got some books out here and some offers for people.
So be around afterwards for
Yeah,
people to
hang
answer
out.
questions. That's fantastic.
So, yeah.
And then the other thing, one of the classic kind of religious or spiritual questions is, if there is an intelligent designer, why wasn't the design world peace? Is there some greater purpose to this conflict? Because there's conflict in our families. We can all experience loss. We might stumble on the path on the way home and have something happen to us. So at very small and very large levels, is there a purpose to it?
I think very much so, is that it's about us making the choice to align ourselves in that way. We're free, we say there's this scale. It's Jesus and Hitler, right? And anywhere in between is where people land. So we have been given that power. And, I was at a ceremony with the Aetherius Society in London, which is a very old society, and they said there was an earth before this earth, and it didn't have free will. And it went terribly amok.
Oh, really?
And so they sort of redesigned so that we would have this free will, so we could actively choose and give us these situations. So,
That's terrific.
all right, I'll take this off.
Participation of the willing, starting with me. That's just brilliant. Thank you so much. Can we give a round of applause, please, for Barbara? Thank you for bringing yourself so beautifully and so fully as a gift to us today. We acknowledge that, and thank you so much for that. Now is the time for our offering. We are a donation-based place here. We don't get grants or anything like that, so it is your kind and generous contributions that allow us to bring people like Barbara here to bless us. So please give generously, and you can give online at LakeHarrietSpiritualCommunity.org. And if you're so inclined, we also have, I believe it's Venmo QR codes in the basket if you want to give that way. So thank you for your generosity.
We're gonna walk together arm in arm with peace in our hearts. Gonna walk together arm in arm with peace in our hearts. Gonna walk together
you. Thank you, thank you. Always such great music. Thank you for your kind gifts, everyone. And if you please raise your hands and say after me, God's perfect love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. Aho. Thank you, everyone. We believe here that you are part of something bigger at Lake Harriet. You are special. You are uniquely gifted. You are valued, capable, so worthwhile. We encourage you to live and thrive as the best version of yourself this and every week. And we hope to see you at some of these wonderful upcoming events. So thank you. And if we could now form our closing circle. Jen, you want to align them about halfway or something? Or you got it? It always gets figured out.
Humans are like that.
If we can solve world peace,
Yeah,
can do
we
this.
can make a circle.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. All right. Dear Mother, Father God, as we go forth today, let us never forget that we have the power to be willing to be the instrument of peace, starting within ourselves, and inspire us by looking at the faces of those in our communities, in our homes, in our world, as reflections of ourselves, and committing to doing the greatest good. Amen.
Good, everyone.